Krásný dobrý den, zdravím vás u dalšího dílu o předložkách. Hello and welcome to another episode on prepositions. This is one of the last episodes on prepositions, and on today's program I have two prepositions, se and beze, and these two prepositions actually kind of complement each other. Se or se means with, beze means without. When you speak about ordering food in a restaurant, you often use these two prepositions. You want something with a certain ingredient and without it. For example, dáte si kávu s cukrem nebo bez cukru? S cukrem nebo bez cukru? Will you want your coffee with sugar or without sugar? As you can see, these prepositions each take a different case. Well, s cukrem is instrumental case, and bez takes a genitive case. S cukrem, bez cukru. Let's have a look at a couple of more phrases where you have the same couples. Chcete limonádu s ledem nebo bez ledu? Do you want your lemonade with ice or without ice? So we have s ledem, led, ledem, instrumental, bez ledu, led, ledu, genitive case. You see the same pattern here, cukrem ledem, cukru ledu, that's for the masculine. Dáte si menu s polévkou nebo bez polévky? Will you want your menu, lunch menu, with a soup or without a soup? S polévkou, that would be for the feminine. Bez polévky, bez polévky. Máte garáž s oknem nebo bez okna? Is your garage with a window or without it? S oknem nebo bez okna? This would be for the neuter. If you would like to review instrumental or genitive, you can do so here. The translation of these two prepositions is pretty straightforward. Se is with and bez means without. When we use them, we have to keep in mind that with se goes with the instrumental case and without bez goes with the genitive case. Plus, we also should be aware of the second variant of se, which is se, and that is very common actually. And sometimes you can even have beze, and we will also look at those examples. Jdeme na to, let's go. Now we are going to have a look at some examples of se. Where to use se? When we use se, it is called the vocalization of this preposition, and it's meant to help us when we pronounce words. It makes us connect the words more easily because E is a vowel, so it kind of breaks these consonant clusters and avoids strange combinations, which is funny because in Czech we often have very interesting combinations anyways, but this is one of those features that help us. The first sentence is an example of a simple s. S kofeinem, káva s kofeinem. We read this little preposition together with the following word. So we pronounce it as if it was one word. Káva s kofeinem. It sounds like there are only two words in the sentence. S kofeinem. Coffee with caffeine. There is no need for E. What about the next sentence? Řízek se salátem. Řízek se salátem. We added an extra E because the following word starts with an S. Se salátem. What happened here is we do read it as two words, we still connect them. The stress in Czech is always in the first syllable, but here we would stress this preposition and this would not count as a new word anymore, so we would say řízek se salátem, se salátem. So the main stress would fall on the preposition and salátem would not be as strong anymore. Řízek se salátem. This is how we would say it. And this means breaded meat, breaded chicken or pork with a salad. Řízek or schnitzel as we call it. Štrůdl se zmrzlinou Okay, strudel is an apple pie. It comes from German, but we use this word strudel with ice cream. I made a mistake on purpose so that you remember that the word strudel actually is spelled with čárka. There goes a rule that U with čárka cannot appear in the middle of the word. It can if it's a loan word, or if it used to be a word that is added prefix. So, strudel, as it is not a Czech word, we spell it with čárka. If you see strudel spelled with a kroužek in the menu, you kindly tell the staff they should correct it. I don't think that would be very appreciative, but it's true, it's a mistake. Se zmrzlinou. We added E because Z is a very similar sound to S. Z. Se zmrzlinou rather than s zmrzlinou. Se zmrzlinou. Strudel se zmrzlinou. Say it with me. Strudel se zmrzlinou. And if we switch it, zmrzlina se strudlem, we still use se because the following letter is sh. And that's also kind of similar to s. So, se strudlem. Zmrzlina se strudlem. Kuře se žampiony. Chicken with these field mushrooms. Kuře se žampiony. Kuře se žampiony. We don't have to speak about food all the time. If you say that you are taking the dog out, you're going to walk the dog, you say jdu ven se psem or jdu se psem. I'm going with the dog, I'm going out with the dog. Se psem, se psem. Too many consonants here, so we added E, se psem. And imagine you want to make this sentence a little bit more informative. So you would continue and you would say jdu se psem, se kterým jsem byla u veterináře. I'm taking the dog with whom I was at the vet before. Se kterým. So let's see what the rule is. We use se when there is a word starting with S, se salátem. When there is a word starting with Z, starting with sh and ž, or a word that starts with 2 and more consonants. But as I mentioned in one of my videos before, R and L are considered semivowels in the Czech language, so they don't apply to this rule. So when you have a word like vlak, a train, s vlakem, with a train. So not R and L. Se psem, se kterým. One important piece of information, when you see se, it doesn't automatically mean that it will be with. Because in this sentence you have 2 se, but each means a little bit different thing. So, sešla jsem se se šárkou means I got together with šárka. One of these means with, and the other one is a part of a reflexive verb, which I also spoke about. You can review it here. The reflexive part of a verb would go together with that verb. We would usually keep it together, so all of this is I met with, sešla jsem se. So here it's a part of a verb, sejít se, to get together. And here means with, se šárkou. Sešla jsem se, se šárkou. So be careful because se is also a part of a reflexive verb. And sometimes we can have one next to the other, no problem. And now let's have a look at some examples where we say beze and write e. I mentioned that it's not that common, but there are certain phrases, collocations, that would take beze. Běžte tam beze mě. The pronoun já in different cases starts with 2 sounds that are consonants. Mě in here. Mě. So we have m and ň. So it would be a little strange to say bez mě. It is normal to use beze mě or add, if you have any other preposition that can be vocalized with this particular word, mě, that it always has e in there, like ode mě, from me, ve mně, in me, ke mně, to me. And this is not an exception. Beze mě, because we have m and ň, and then this is how it sounds, mě. Go there without me. Běžte tam beze mě. The same way, if you want to say with me, you also write se mnou. Also se mnou, not s mnou. For the same reason. Beze všeho. This expression means of course. You can ask somebody, můžu otevřít okno? Can I open the window? Ale beze všeho. Well, of course. This is a very formal phrase, but you can hear it. And of course you can have it in another phrase. Beze všeho followed with another word. Beze všeho hluku. Without all of that noise. Beze všeho. Beze spěchu. Without rush. Beze spěchu. Spěch, rush. Beze spěchu. Without any rush. Beze slova, without a word. Beze slov, without words. These both are common, singular or plural. Beze slova, beze slov. Beze změny, without a change. Or beze změn, without changes. Beze změn. Článek zůstal beze změn. The article remained unchanged, without changes. Now, knowing what the rule is a little tricky. Because you could think, okay, if there are 2 and more consonants, then we use beze. But that's not the case. There are many words that have 2 and more consonants, and we just use bez. And it would be strange to say beze. For example, bez školy would be one of those examples. Without school. Bez školy. Beze školy doesn't sound right. Or without ice cream. Bez zmrzliny. See how many consonants there are and we don't mind. Bez zmrzliny. Zmrzliny. Or bez dveří, without a door. Bez dveří. So what I would recommend is that you learn these expressions and get used to the sound beze with these particular ones. And don't worry about anything else. Everything else could be bez unless you hear otherwise, and then you know why that happens. Dámy a pánové, ladies and gentlemen, this is not all for this topic. There will be a second part with useful phrases with s or bez, but I decided to keep that for next week. But now I would like you to get some extra practice for the preposition s or se, bez and beze. This way you will review what you've just learned in this lesson. Remember that se or s goes with the instrumental case and bez and beze goes with the genitive case always. Here are 8 sentences and your task will be to complete them with s or bez or their vocalized variant. Here's the English translation. Let's have a look at the first sentence. Máte kávu? Kofeinu. Do you have coffee? Caffeine. From the English sentence you don't really know. It's not gonna tell you whether it should go with or without, but you can see in Czech, kofeinu. If you recognize that this is genitive, it'll be easy for you to say bez kofeinu. Máte kávu bez kofeinu? I'll go through the sentences like this, one by one. If you wish to do it by yourself, you can pause the video now and then check your answers afterwards. Ready? Připraveni? Jdeme na to. Číslo 2. Dáte si polévku chlebem nebo chleba? Chlebem and chleba. Which of them is also genitive? It will be chleba. So that one would go with bez and the other one is with the instrumental case. Dáte si polévku s chlebem nebo bez chleba? Nepůjdu tam. Tebe is the genitive case. Nepůjdu tam bez tebe. Mluvili jsme Zitou. A girl, a woman named Zita. And this is clearly the instrumental case. Se Zitou. And here you have to say se, because the following z. Se Zitou. Zloděj zmizel without a trace. Beze stopy. And we add i. Lásky není možné žít. Láska, lásky. This is genitive. Bez lásky není možné žít. Slov. This is plural. This is beze slov. He left without saying any words, without saying anything. Beze slov. A poslední. Dáš si chleba máslem. Máslem is the instrumental case. S máslem. Super. Tak a to je všechno. Next week I will see you again with the same topic and we will be looking at some common expressions and phrases. Mějte se krásně. Ahoj. Also, don't forget that my special offer for a video course plus a 50-minute lesson with me is still available for a discounted price of $35. You can click on the link below to preview the course.